Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to episode 1476 of our Wake Up Everybody virtual community. And today our topic is relationships in the village. I'm Marilyn Douglas Jones, your resident educator, business consultant, Chamber of Commerce executive, and basically culture critic and lifestyle coach. Um, Today is Sunday. It's a beautiful day. We're into the first major part of fall. Welcome, welcome. Get your favorite chair, your favorite hot or cold drink. Maybe even take some notes today. And feel free to screenshot if you see anything that you want to retain. Plus, we're in other spaces that you can go back and check the recordings. But welcome, welcome to day 1476 of the Wake Up Everybody virtual community. And today we are talking about relationships in the village of abundance. My series about abundance continues. And today we are looking at relationships from the very micro level all the way to the macro level. So let's do this. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's see who's in our space today. All right. Teresa, hope you're feeling well. Welcome. Z, welcome. Video. There I am. I see me now. Okay, so I kind of changed the scene up a little bit so everything is not so professorial, but we're going to learn something, hopefully a few tidbits that we can share with other people. So here we go. Welcome, welcome.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Wake up. Grand Rising, everybody. Hopefully you're doing well. Welcome, welcome to our space. Today we're talking about relationships in the village of abundance. And of course, my go-to is Kwanzaa principles. So, of course, relationships are about connecting, as our Wu song says, and umoja means unity in Swahili, right? And unity comes from the resilience of a community, our culture. The resilience of our culture depends on uniform practices, things we do in common. That's what makes it a culture that you can identify. And this happens in key institutional areas across cultures, right? Every culture has values about the family, marriage, and then, of course, in a larger space, there's the government. Family is government too. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, to spread that in the environment, we have education so that everyone is coming into one page or system as a larger group. And then we ascend into the spirituality section where you've heard the cliche, we are spiritual beings in a human body having a human experience, and the spirit stays even when the body goes, right? But the key to remember here in the emoja space is the resilience of our community. And it depends on some uniform practices in key areas, right? And these are the key areas. Now we'll stay on this slide for a second. What do you picture when you close your eyes or look around when you hear the word family? What does family mean to you? And so we want some interactions today. Um, Woo space. We don't want any sleeping space in terms of no noise. We want to hear your beautiful voices to bring our spirits together in the spirit of Umoja. So, what comes to mind? What are the different kinds of families that we have in society today? What does family look like in our social spaces? Any takers?
Lavada has her hand raised.
Go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Family, of course, we know family can be blood related, mother and father and children, extended families. Um, and of course, we have blended families and we have families that we can create on our own depending on circumstances. Sometimes you don't have your relatives around, so you have to create your own little group of people who you can rely on and grow and build with and support and be of support. So all of those things are components of family. Sometimes it can be you're closer to people in love and spirit that's not even your blood sometimes, and that you build those bonds. So I think family is a construct that we can either be given or that we can create. And
Mhm.
it just depends on the unity and the vision within the group as to how you want to be toward each other and for each other. So I think over time you got family. Sometimes you feel like family when you meet people for the very first time because there's a spiritual connection with them. So that's my understanding of family. It don't only have to be blood.
Awesome. Awesome. Anyone else? So, of course, a single person alone is not viewed as a family. What about if all you have is a pet, a
Lee
big
has her hand
dog?
raised. And Kimmy have their hand raised.
Can you what?
Good morning.
Is a single person in a dog family?
Yes, to me it is. My dogs are my
Uh,
children.
Absolutely.
Come up,
Okay.
They
my dog.
okay, I can
Okay.
come up.
So it's companionship, right? That doesn't have to be blood, as LaWanda said, and Teresa. Okay. What about marriage? How does marriage work in different spaces, cultures? What is that? What does that look like? Or what are we told it should be like? Anyone here married in the space? What is marriage? Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
Lavanda has her
Marriage.
hand raised.
Go ahead.
I
I'm
don't
not seeing
I, I
that,
don't
so yeah.
I don't necessarily want to overshare.
Mhm.
But jumping in on the conversation, um, marriage again can be common law or it can be a committed relationship that was set through the government, through the matrimony process. And it can also be, um, I guess that's the two types of marriages that I know of, a formal legal marriage and a common law marriage. I was raised and witnessed both. My parents were common law before they got married. And then I was engaged before I got married to my husband, but we were spiritually married, connected within before we even got engaged. We were already connected. So again, marriage is also nuanced to some people. Some people don't think that they need the formal document to see themselves as married because they've made that commitment to each other and they live their whole lives like that, never marrying, but they stay together till the end. So again, marriage is just something that I think for legal purposes, we have to go through the system so that the government knows who's tied and who's not. But then again, sometimes the other type of marriage, the common law marriage, where you're raising your kids together, living together, but haven't signed the document, that's another type of marriage too.
Okay. So you said there's common law and then there's the legal, right? Official. In our religious folklore, did Adam and Eve go to court? Would you say they're common law or they were joined together by the one and only? And so did they need a piece of paper to say Adam and Eve got married? Um, in other religions, is marriage the same, where you must have a piece of paper to prove to everyone or a ring on your finger? And is it just coming together in the same space and sharing and doing everything that family is expected to do? Um, do we need that? Or is it that the culture requires it, so we do it? What do we do in terms that takes us to government, right? Was there not marriage before government, before the law? What do you think? And I'm not seeing the hands up, so please jump in and let me know, admins, when there is a hand up or what's in the chat. Grand Rising.
Grand Rising. Hi, my name is Kimmy. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning,
Um,
Kimmy.
I definitely believe there was marriage before the human law and before American law and government and all that stuff. I personally got married during the pandemic under spiritual law, and I never did make it legal by my choice. However, some people choose to dismiss it as and call it a fake marriage because I didn't choose to put the government in it. And it's being ridiculed because the marriage did not last, but it's being ridiculed as if it was a fake marriage. And I'm like, no, it was not at all. And it's just a strange thing when people don't understand that that is a commitment between you, your spouse, and the higher powers that you believe in, saying you're choosing to join together as a force on this earth. And that's my opinion on marriage.
Okay.
I think the government personally just wants to run your taxes up and know all your business.
All right. Absolutely. So marriage is a union between two people in Western culture, or even more in other cultures, right? Eastern, you have polygamy, right? Usually that's the man having multiple wives. And then the government sanctions it in other cultures. We do not sanction it in Western culture. But as you mentioned about taxes and all of that, we need that unity or uniformity for the culture to thrive, right? So whatever the rules are, that's what we do so that we can have this sense of belonging, right? And then government comes in as a form of control, right? It could be benign, positive control, or it could be negative control. Depends on how we look at it, on how much privacy we still have, right? And then there's education. Children need to know how things work. Adults need to know how things work. And so all these are institutions that evolve, and education makes sure we keep becoming uniform in what we do. So that's why it starts with the children. This is how things work here, and this is how you will fit in. This is how you'll be of benefit to society. And so this is what you wear. This is how you behave. And we may think of it as just reading books, but every piece of learning or training is education, right? And is there really informal education? If it's correct in its own space, it's all formal, especially when it's building the culture, bringing people together on one page so that we know when we hear the word family, we can visualize at least two people, right? And some people then go on to visualizing children being added to that. And some people see a dog, a cat, right? Pets of some sort. Um, and then we look at marriage, again, a union between at least two people, right? That's formally recognized by the government or informally. We're very special about that word informal now, but formally recognized by the community. Those two are together, and bless them, and they're staying together, right? And they're doing things that they need to do, maybe even starting a family in addition to the family of two. And so education tells us what all these words mean as values, right? And then we get to spirituality. Not to be confused, but always confused with religion, right? Spirituality is what connects these words in the first place, that makes you accept something as family relationship, as marriage, as government. Government is about obedience, right? Obedience, control, community. So, what does spirituality mean to you?
Z, you had
And
your hand
Z,
raised. Would you like to add something to this?
whose hand is raised? I can't see that, so you'll have to let me
Z
know.
had her hand raised. I just
Z, let's
asked
know what
her.
spirituality is. Thank you. Unmute. Jump in the fire. Z, Zakia, Red Rising.
I didn't realize my hand was still up. I had put it down. Whoops, hold on. Let me get back to so I can. Okay, so we're talking about spirituality and relationships in spiritual sense. That's a very deep question to me because there
As an
is
institution.
yes, and so I personally have a variety of relationships, uh, religious relationships, relationships, because we practice the same religion. That our connection is based on the fact that we practice the same religion. I believe that once we have connected, we would possibly still be connected, even if someone changed their religion. Um, Although quite possibly not. Now, spiritual connections are not, for me, have nothing to do with religion as far. In fact, have religion has absolutely nothing to do with spirituality in the sense that religion is kind of the governing attempt to govern spirituality, to set certain rules, and if you don't follow those rules, then there's challenges and there's consequences and all these kinds of things. Whereas spirituality, to me, direct connection, uh, personal connection between an individual and their who they recognize as their higher power, their creator, their source, is very different than religion. So I have um, relationships with people who have no connection to my religion that I'm in many cases I'm even more deeply connected with than those that I'm connected to as a result of sharing the same religion. So that's kind of a deep question. Thank you.
Okay. So you mentioned governing, which is great because that's the difference between spirituality and religion, right? Spirituality is your connection, maybe your unity, not maybe, it is your unity with nature around you and a higher power that you see when nature is connected. You have seasons, you have trees. You can tell a tree different from you can tell the river, right? And even in the urban area, spirituality is even more governed as religion. And so there's a little more freedom maybe in urban religion, but it boils down to control. This is a pattern, a culture, a pattern of beliefs and practices, right? As we expect family to be this way in this culture, we expect marriage to be this way in this culture. Government regulates how that works in this culture. Education makes sure that everybody becomes as uniform as possible about family, marriage, and government. And then we have religion as an institution that tries to articulate how spirituality should work, right? And the word spirituality is not used, yet in Christian doctrine, we have Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So the spirit of the home is the mother. And we have church practices, and then we have church history that maybe we need to familiarize ourselves with, or we have mosque as a building. That's what we think. The mosque is just a building, and then Islam is the belief system that we practice in that mosque and at home, and it's the way we marry, and then we're living in diversity. And so, how does government then handle multiple religions, right? So let's look at America. It doesn't matter what religion you're from, you need a piece of paper if you're going to be legally married, right? And then the way you practice it at home is the cultural way, right? In terms of this is how the children should behave, this is what is expected of the wife, and this is, everyone goes to school to learn how to do these things, and then there is obedience, right? And then spirituality, the closest we get to reminding ourselves that we're spiritual is prayer, mindfulness, meditation, right? And these things then cut across, spirituality cuts across all religions. Okay. So, what are your practices? How easy is it if you're no longer satisfied with this religious practice? How easy is it to shift to something else? Do we have an a la carte where, okay, I don't like this anymore, so I'm going to do this, or I'm going to make some stuff up, but is it still connecting you to the village? Is it connecting you to the world around you? Are you just out there on your own by yourself, practicing or believing what you see as spirituality? What is the higher power? What do you visualize when you close your eyes and hear the term higher power? Are you seeing an old white man with a stick or what is that, a rod, we'll call it, right? Or are you seeing the Buddha? Or what are you seeing? Are you seeing Krishna? What do you see when you close your eyes and hear the word God or the word spirituality? Does it open up a space or do you see a person, right? And so meditate on that on this Sunday, right? Um, Next slide, please. So we've seen the institutions, family,
Before we
marriage, government. Next slide,
before we proceed to
education.
the next slide, I would like to read from chat from
Okay.
Or on Facebook, people may not be
Awesome.
legally married but have work husbands and wives, somebody said. And
Hmm.
Beulah said, glorious morning, everyone. And Lavanda has her hand raised if she wants to say something.
Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Go ahead, Luanda.
Hi, Marilyn. This conversation is so important. We live within the things that you're talking about. So we all have our experiences and we know different people or even ourselves where we connect to what it is that you're talking about. You can be raised in one religion with a strong family religious belief in this religion and this is God and this is the church and this is how we dress. And then you go to school and you go and you meet different teachers from different cultures. You see them practicing their religion or talking about their spirituality and their belief. Or you go to school at university and you learn about religion and how it was formed, and then you understand that so there is something deeper than religion, which is spirituality, and we all have within us the spirit, as we have soul and spirit within us that we feel. And when I think of God, I don't see none of those things, those objects and images. I just feel this vastness of energy that is so, so superior to any energetic space that I've experienced here on earth. And if to believe that there is a universe and there is this one biggest, greatest power that even created the universes, that's God to me. You know, that I am a tiny speck of sand, but I am still yet connected to him and I am a part of him. And I'm going to go to him and I see God in my animals and in the grass and in the wind and in everything because he created it all. And it's still here the same as it was from it was created. So I just this is such a great thing because we go against education, government, marriage, family, sometimes all just because of our spiritual connection to God. Some of us are willing to risk it all for God, not for the religion, but for God. So I'm really into this conversation. Thanks for bringing this up today.
Thank you. That was a very rich response. Appreciate you. Okay. So, next slide, please. Any other messages? Very good. So, you've seen this before. This is my go-to because this is really how life happens, right? And this combines all those institutions that we saw before, even spirituality. This is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's what people need to feel connected, right? We're talking today about relationships. So even spirituality is about your relationship with the universe and possibly others, right? So, of course, the bottom is always the foundation. It's where we start, right? So Maslow says that everyone has physiological needs, satisfying the body, right? A child needs food, shelter, clothing, water, right? And that way you're healthy, right? A healthy relationship requires that you eat food, right? You drink fresh water, that you have shelter, a roof over your head, right? And all those things that make you physically comfortable. And as you get older, you have the choice. But as an infant or even in the womb, someone is doing that for you. So it's a warm place, first of all, that's your house, and you're getting food from the mother, right? And then it takes us into where health and hygiene are. Well, health, let's stay with health. The right food will keep you healthy. Like I mentioned, fresh water, pure water will keep you healthy. It cleans your system and it shows up in your skin, right? And so a sheltering place needs to be a comfortable space where you can sleep properly, right? and you manage the weather with that space that protects you. Okay. And we're gonna tap into something later that is not on this list of physiological needs yet, but we will see how vital it is because this physiological need helps us to physically move around, right? It needs to be healthy to work, okay, properly, right? And so if those institutions aren't working together to make those things healthy for us, then wellness is already compromised. Our relationship is compromised because a lot of people live in a food desert, as we call it. What does that mean? Do you know what the term food desert means? Who can explain that to us? What's a food desert? Anyone? We hear a lot of terms and we accept it. We can even visualize what it is or think we know, but what is a food desert can be articulated. Everything we've learned, we need to be able to teach it to keep that relationship going in the village, right? So in our case, a food desert is where there is not access, it's not made available easily to groceries, for example, right? So in urban areas, it's easy to have a desert. There's no grocery store within a certain amount of blocks or miles, right? Or hectares, depending on how you've been taught math, right? Um, and if there is a store, it may be just a convenience store, which then does not have the variety you need, or it could be beyond a standalone store, but then the offerings are not the same as in, say, a suburban store or an upscale store in the urban area. You can go into Specs, for example. I'm in Houston, Texas. I can go to Specs, and it's not just a liquor store. It has all the different wines. It's like a connoisseur's liquor store. It's got the wines and the different alcoholic drinks from all over. And then there's the non-alcoholic, but it also has cheese. It also has things that go with the wine, right? And then we have these grocery stores that have like different aisles with some of the same things depending on where you're from, right? Or now I've gone to the grocery store lately, and because diversity is not a thing anymore, but the people are still here, we have one aisle with lots of different varieties of the same thing, right? And then we move on to the next aisle with lots of uh, the versions of the same thing. Okay, but that's just the basic level. And so Al Iba says a food desert is where you cannot buy healthy foods. Okay, all right, great. So it's lack of good food, like Healthy Wealthy said. And then once we have certain things in place that meet our physical needs, we move on to the golden stage of safety and security. That's from outside of ourselves, right? We want a neighborhood where there's not gunshots going off all the time. So government steps in and provides security, policing, right? That's just in the pure form. And how that works with us might be different from how it works somewhere else, right? And so even the way that the government requires that if you're living in America, even if you're on dependency, that your apartment must have temperature monitoring, right? So, for example, in the South where we are, we might have air conditioning, whereas in the North, where it's generally cooler, you still have windows, but you don't have air conditioning, right? And that's the health safety part, right? So that we don't have a lot of sick people from bad weather inside. Okay. And then, of course, security because you have those four walls around you, or you have multiple rooms with different people in there taking care of you working together, right? And so, how do we rate the family on providing these things? How do we rate the government on making sure that what we're getting is for our wellness, right? And then we have love and belonging. All of these are relationships from the start. What's our relationship with food? Is it healthy, unhealthy? What's our relationship with the security forces around us? Is there our policemen? Do we call them uncle, or do we even know their names? And do they tell us good morning, good evening? Be careful going across the street. And then that's love and belonging in a child's eyes, right? As a child evolves, if they feel healthy, if they feel safe, they feel that family's taking care of them, the adults in the environment, the government, the social workers, all these other folks are building this community, and it's uniform. Everyone's treated the same according to your age, right? And so, do we progressively feel based on how we are treated from childhood to the neighborhood to now adulthood or teenager? Do we feel that love and belonging consistently? Do the adults outside treat us like the adults inside? And is it a positive treatment or a negative treatment? We're building these relationships. Are they safe and loving, or are they toxic, or is it a mix? And is there balance in the mix? Right? Any hands up? Because remember, I can't see.
Teresa has her hand raised.
Go
Hey,
ahead,
blessings,
Teresa. We
family.
love you.
Peace and blessing. I love y'all too. What I realized is that as I grew up, that the place that I thought was safe was not safe. They were safe to a degree, but they were not safe, based on some of the different views I saw, some what people were dealing with. But we did learn a lot of safety things. Like my mother told us, so there's things my mother told other people didn't tell us, but then there's other places we were, where we were not safe. And so, knowing, as I'm getting older and aging gracefully, I find that, a lot of things that I thought were okay, and my family dynamic, even outside, I thought they were okay, but they were not, because it was based on what they thought, what they taught was safe. And so you have to, as you get older, so I think it's okay to change how you change how you view how your family think and stuff like that, because your family might be raised one way, but and like you must was just talking about the other day about how we miss the dinners together, but sometimes dealing with the family members, it could be toxic to have the dinner. So is it really worth to have the dinners? But we decided, that once we figured out, we're gonna try to do it anyway, because some of us are really missing, and those who choose whatever, who come, who don't come. But we I feel like I spent so much time looking at the fear of joining together, instead of just trying to celebrate who wants to come together. From my point of view, but just a lot of things, like even how we raise our kids is different. It was like certain things that we would say to each other, that you can't say to some young folks. They look at you like crazy, like mind your business. And we do want to mind our business. Just sometimes we see some things that doesn't look healthy to us. So we have to learn as a older tribe to know how to balance. When it's just to me, I pray sometimes instead of talking a lot, because sometimes they don't want to hear what you got to say, even if it's true, even what you're saying is true, and they could see it, but they want to do stuff their way, and we have to respect that. But it can be challenged as an older generation, and I'm complete.
Okay. Something you said, we got to respect that. Why do we have to respect it if it's hurting, right? We respect what is positive. And as children, yes, we have to obey that, but even then, they may not necessarily be respecting that. And respect is not even a matter of you showing respect, yes or no, sir. It's I don't accept that. So when I grow up, I'm going to change it. But I'm going to do as I'm told right now, right? I'm going to deal with the situation I'm in, maybe quietly, and accept a lot. Respect and acceptance at that point mean the same thing, but it's not the same respect as paying homage to it in the future, right? Of course, if we repeat the same thing to someone else, there's a dysfunction or malfunction somewhere that we have to change that relationship to make it more positive, right? So when I'm pregnant, what am I eating to make sure I have a healthy baby? When this child is born, how do the parent, other parent, and I make sure the child is in a safe environment, both within the house and outside of the apartment, right? And then how, no matter what's going on outside in the yellow zone here, how do we make sure that the children feel loved and have a sense of belonging? And not just belonging in a social circle, that means belonging to the parents. Like they have my back or they're there for me, right? And so all those things impact your self-esteem and it becomes cultural esteem. How do you see yourself? How are you made to see yourself? And how, therefore, do you see the other people that look like you or sound like you in that environment, right? And so we say children live what they learn, they're a product of their environment, but adults can change things. It just makes it harder if it was pretty toxic in the beginning. And all these things are not just managed by the individual parent. The government plays a role. How do you feel loved and like you belong in a multicultural environment? What's the rule? How must I be treated to feel accepted? And so, do I think other cultures have I been taught education official wise that some cultures are better than others, or some people have no culture. What does culture then mean so that I develop the kind of self-esteem, especially in my teenage years, the most impressionable, the first 15 or so years, right? How have all these things helped me to have enough self-esteem to say no at the right time and yes at the right time, right? That's good for me, safe for me, brings me joy, brings me a feeling of comfort and belonging, right? Um, Someone said, Cheryl sent you a hug, Teresa.
Thank you, Cheryl, and
Check the
everybody else.
chat.
Welcome. I appreciate it. It's needed. It's needed.
Okay,
Thank you.
right. You sound stronger today. Um, so do you see in all of this, on these pictures with the colors, all things work together for good if people have good intentions, godly intentions. They're spiritually mature to make this happen for their children, to make this happen as security officers, to make this happy as government, to make this happy as family and friends, right? So that we all feel good about who we are and where we are. And then, of course, self-actualization, why we are. Are we at the point where we're just in survival mode, or has our spirituality been activated to the point where we're of value consciously to others, right? This is about relationships. What's our relationship with food and why? What's our relationship with the police and why? What's our relationship in our social circles with family and friends and neighbors, right? And how does that manifest how we feel about ourselves and where we belong and who we are, right? Because the institutional goals always appear to be positive for us, right? Um, in the ideal world, or in this world that everybody wants to come to, right? All these things are here for you and they're good. And look at the picture of this food store. It's got everything, all the different colors and flavors of tea, you know. And you have movies. You can go to the movies and there's this big IMAX theater. And so things are really popping over here. Let me go over here because it's not, I want to go over there because it's not over here. I want to move out of my neighborhood to the neighborhood next door because they have it. There's no food desert over there. Or I want to move to a whole other city. Or I want to move to a whole other state. Or I want to move to a whole other country. So basically, we are fed um, images, and then when we're in it, we need to see our responsibility to make it what we thought it would be, right? Once we get to adulthood, we can change things. And sometimes teenagers change things, and sometimes children change things, because if they have the public ear, they can complain, or they might even see some way they can fix it. Like, my mom needs money to buy my books, I'm going to sell lemonade, right? Or I'm going to cut the yard so that we can have what we need, right? So everybody has a role to play in the village, right? It's just how the responsibility level works in those relationships in the village, right? Does the policeman really want you to be safe? Or he doesn't like you, he will shoot you without due process and say he thought you had a gun when you had a soda can? It was shiny. Does that not speak to the level of intelligence of the officer and the competence to enforce the law in ways that make people feel safe and secure, right? If the parent has enough money to buy good food, why are we eating junk food every day when we know that that becomes health issues later on, right? I'm pregnant. Am I taking care of my body in ways that I have a healthy child, right? As a male, am I making sure, since my spouse or significant other is pregnant, am I making sure that she has the right foods to have a healthy child? Okay. Um, what are we willing to compromise on? Are we communicating enough to say, this is what we need, this is what we have, let's make them work together? Unity, uniformity at that point, standardizing, right? And so when we see that there's a dysfunction, do we call it out? Do we work to change it? Or do we just accept it and say it is what it is, which is a fairly new expression. We have other ways of saying it in the past, but it's like, it's terrible. It is what it is. Just let it be. And I have no responsibility to change it, or I don't have the time or the energy to change it. So that purple section isn't working for a lot of people because we accept instead of self-actualizing. Instead of reaching inside for that higher power, since we recognize the problem, why aren't we solving it? If the relationship in the village is to be healthy, right?
Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise has her hand raised, and Beulah had her hand raised also.
Who was first? Who raised the hand first? Do you remember? Okay,
Beulah, would you like to add
Beulah, you're
something?
the senior, maybe? Beulah, still there? Okay, next, who's the other person with a hand raised?
Healthy, wealthy, and wise in
Kate,
2025.
sweet. Awesome. Welcome.
Yay. Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Grand Rising. Is there some issues with seeing the raised hands? Because Beulah's hand was up for a long time.
Right. I
Oh,
can't see it, so I rely on help to see it.
uh-oh, something wrong with your eyes, Marilyn?
Not my eyes, my
Oh,
computer.
okay, good. Good, good, good. All right. Good to see you, hear you, and be with you. My sister, myself. Um, I was thinking when you were talking about how in the community that I grew up in, like the man in the store, he knew he knew us. As children, we go to the store. And actually he lived, close by his store. He lived right there in the neighborhood. And so different stores we would go in, they would know who we are. And that did feel good. And then I'm remembering, checking inside my body about feelings and why I feel certain things or deeply. Why do I feel deeply? And I did feel covered in a sense in the community that I live. When we went to the candy store, or my mother sent me to the store to get her cigarettes. And he saw me coming in. He knew what cigarettes I was trying to buy. He let me buy my mother cigarettes. You know what I mean? And so that was um that was a feeling of love, of like, recognition, right? We recognize someone recognizing you and seeing you, and so that brought that up for me when you were talking. And then also the free thinking. We have to allow the youth to freely think, because we've been so conditioned to be conditioned and kept in the bondage that others need us to be, so that they can have control. So for us in our homes, we have to allow the children to freely think, because they'll bring resolution. They will. I'm believing that. I really am believing that. So that's what I wanted to add to the community conversation for today. And sending love and light to Teresa. I'll inbox you when we get off this call and send you some love. So yeah, thank you for this conversation. And then also, as far as recognizing certain foods that we eat are not good for us. So it doesn't stop there that it's not good for us, it's detrimental to us. That's for me. I'm taking it a step further so I can recognize, stop, sweetness, stop eating that. They made it so that you want more and more of it, and then you don't think straight. Your body is sick. Now I can't afford the medication, right? They're making it so that we can't afford the medication. You got to get on medication. Then they say, well, no, you can't get this unless you're rich, unless you have money. So wake up, everybody. No more sleeping. And with that, I'm
That's right.
complete.
Thank you. Thank you. That is so true. I remember when I was little, um, and still today, because in some countries there's no age for you to buy alcohol. The assumption is even though you're under the age for drinking it, you're buying it because someone sent you to the store to get it, or cigarettes or something like that. And so it teaches a sense of responsibility too, even though those things may or may not be good for you, depending on how often you have to run to the store to get more. Um, but it's interesting here where you can't buy it and then you can't drink it. And this is where the rules get broken more, because even though this seems to be the land of the free, the type of restrictions we have just tempt children to break them, break the rules, right? Even adults break the rules. Don't tell me I can't do that. I'm free, right? And so in other countries where they don't sort of micro manage you, people learn to be more responsible in many cases, right? We're looking at people saying now, oh, these other countries are sending us drugs. Well, that's because the demand is here, right? And sometimes it's even people here, again, because things are more cheaply done elsewhere. It's not necessarily even the people in those countries that are processing the drugs, and it's certainly not them shipping the drugs. They don't have the airplanes and the boats and all that. But we blame other people. Bad things come from outside. Viruses come from outside. And we capitalize on that inside, right? And so it's very interesting how these institutions have stopped working together because of profit, right? And so it's making it really hard for us to self-actualize, to reach our highest potential and fulfill every goal that we set that's realistic or even imaginary but possible, right? That's what potential is all about. And so how are our institutions working together for our wellness, right? We're getting close to the top of the hour if people need to go, but I hope you will stay and I hope you'll tell other people to jump on as possible, right? Um, Greed and fear are the driving force behind what, right? And we have to look at if the food is bad, you're going to be sick and you're going to pass early, right? Even though the life expectancy has doubled in the last 50 years, okay? Um, Before in the early 1900s, people died at 45. So, Social Security for a long time was only planned for you to live very short time beyond retirement. But now we have all these baby boomers and all these different generations together. And yes, we worked and put the money in, but we also have the baby boomers, means the population of people in their 60s and older is higher because people had more children back then. And so there's this so-called strain on the economy, although people behind us are still working and putting money into the system. The point is, if we have jobs, we can feed the system, and it is your money, so it should be there for you because it's on the side getting interest somewhere, right? So that fear that we see and the greed makes everything seem like, oh, the sky is falling, right? Uh, Time to move to the next slide, maybe, so we can make it through. Next slide, please. And if you have to go, my information is in the chat. So let's talk about sex, people. What is the role of sex in a village that is well, healthy? These are some reasons for sex, y'all. Okay? In a Western society, especially where we want to be free as not just thinkers, but as doers, people look at sex differently because we're different and we're raised differently. And the culture teaches us to look at it differently in our films and our art, right? The majority at a certain age may be having it for recreation, right? Um, some people do it for intimacy, and it becomes intimacy even if you're doing it for recreation. And then some people need it for therapy. Hopefully, it's an evolution with the same person, but people may go different places for different things. That's why sometimes we have to pay, right? It's therapy. It has a healing component of the mind, especially, right? And then, of course, nature says it's for procreation. Don't get it twisted. So we can get pregnant, both of us. One is the host and the other made it happen, right? And then we've got esteem. It makes me happy. It makes me proud. I have a spouse. Or this guy is saying, oh, I've got 20 kids. I'm the man. My sperm works. I'm planting the seeds, right? So it can overlap. It might just be about the occasion, or it might be separate based on the personality and the need. And as an institution, it's part of that physiological need. Food, clothing, shelter, sex, right? And even if we purify those words, children need recreation. Children need intimacy. Children need to be heard and have their problems solved, right? And of course, we teach children about procreation when they have dolls and all that, especially the girls, right? Are we teaching the boys the same values about this? Because that's my boy, but girl, you better not, right? And what does that do for our esteem? Our esteem depends on how we're introduced to sex and how and why it was introduced to us. Now, I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds and let you look at that slide, remembering that our topic is relationship in the village of abundance. And let me know, please, what your thoughts are on those aspects of self. How good is it? How does it make us well?
Well, my
Okay.
hand is up. Maybe they don't see it.
Teresa, go ahead.
Can you explain to me how you said intimacy is recreation? I don't see. To me, I don't see the two. I don't see how I can go from intimacy back to recreation.
Well,
Maybe I'm just
different
not getting.
people do it for different reasons, right? So those are
No, that's not
different
what I'm talking.
reasons.
I'm saying when you have an intimate relationship and when you have a recreational. To me, recreational thing. To me, when it's recreational sex, I think about play and not being intimate relationship, just having it, to like get my little ball. Oh Lord, I have to wash my mouth. Excuse me. Getting my little stuff off, and they get their stuff off. That's what I see about recreation. When you come in intimacy, is what a part of something you care about. You expressing yourself back and forth. But I don't see the recreation. Now I can be
Okay.
open to learn something new today, but I'm just saying how.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So when you look at recreation in general, it's about having fun, isn't it? Right? So some people, and maybe all people who do have sex, expect it to be fun.
Okay, I say that boy. I get it. I get it. I'm you saw me right there. I do have fun when I do it, but I haven't done it in a long time, so I don't know how. No, but that's how I like right now. But it sounds
All
nice though.
right. Yeah.
When it's
So
thank
yeah,
you.
that's what I mean by
Right, you want to say no
recreation.
more? You got me. I'm good now.
Yeah. And that's a complaint that marriages have, right? Like when we started out, we were so great and, couldn't get enough of each other. And now that we've kind of settled in, it's not even once a week. Sometimes it's not once a month. Where's the fun, right? So these are different reasons for it, but it doesn't mean they have to be separated from each other. Everything has its time and place and opportunity, right? But in the long run, when you get to esteem, right, there's the positive esteem because it's all working together for good. It was introduced to me for the first time properly. And if it wasn't, then some of these may never kick in, right? But procreation, that's what nature said it was for in its purest form, right? And then, of course, people might say, well, what about people who can't have children? You still have the others, right? And then someone else might procreate and is not able to take care of that child. So that's when it comes back to you, maybe, to fill in the gap, right? But everything there is emotional except procreation at that point. And then procreation is the core natural purpose of sex in the village, so that there will always be a village at that point. So anything that's being done in your health might also be damaging your ability to procreate, right? Even if we weren't thinking of intimacy, the minute you touch someone, that's intimacy. You hold my hand, that's an intimate gesture. You kiss me on the cheek, that's an intimate gesture, male or female, mommy or daddy, right? And then if you take it further, right, then it's definitely intimacy. And that's where when you break up, it can really, it's a chemical interaction at that point, as well as an emotional interaction. And so when you break up, there is actually a break, like a feeling of broken, right? Breaking. So that intimacy part is really important. Don't try it at home if you don't want all the things that go with it, right? And of course, as partners, someone's feeling down, someone lost a relative, it's therapy, right? Forget about it for a minute and it's going to be all right. That's intimacy and therapy go together, right? Recreation and procreation are sometimes violations of the institution of sexual wellness, right? And all of those things affect your esteem. So if you don't have anyone and you're at that age to have recreation, you feel a void. You feel the void. And so um, it brings intimacy to a relationship and you commit, right? And if you're having these multiple partners, it's difficult. It's not commitment unless it's polygamy somewhere, right? But within our government and our self-governance, intimacy is between two people and the higher power. That's where that commitment comes in, be it at the courthouse or the church or the mosque or the temple, right? And so, how do you feel about yourself after this act? That's esteem. Okay. So, we can talk about sex with children at age appropriately, right? And so, boundaries, definitely discipline and boundaries are extremely important, Adam says, when it comes to relationships and sex, because it's not to be taken lightly. It's a very important thing. It's the ultimate thing because it gives you these five opportunities, right? To feel good about life. And it can bring joy after the memory of it, or it can bring pain, right? So tread lightly with sex. Okay. Next slide, please. And I'm waiting for comments still just because we're changing slides. Think about this for a few seconds. Screenshot if you need to and ponder on it for next time, right?
I'll go through the
Queen
chat
Laura
first
C.
before
Mhm.
we proceed to the next slide. Adam Epps says discipline and boundaries are extremely important when it comes to relationship and sex. Cassandra Brown says lifestyle parties recreational. It's from Facebook. Oliva says recreational sex can be very intimate too. And Laura says we are intimate by our closeness and touching of each other regardless of the reason for sex.
Right.
And Adam Epps and Laura have their hands raised. Adam can go first. Has he raised his hand first?
And I do want to say all touching, all sex is intimacy. So if you don't want to be intimate, don't have sex, right? And if you want that intimacy, that's what you do. Adam?
Good morning, Professor Marilyn. Good morning, Woo Nation. How you doing this morning?
Morning, fine, thank you.
Good. I wanted to add on to what Teresa talked about when she mentioned that she don't see recreation and sex put together. I wanted to add that recreation is all about how you feel about yourself first and foremost, and how comfortable you are with that partner that you're with. That's where the recreational come in. Because if you're not, comfortable with yourself first and foremost, then you're not gonna enjoy sex regardless. So it's all about, establishing boundaries and having certain standards for yourself. And also you gotta have a certain, level of ceiling for that person that you're dealing with too, because you may not want to be in a serious relationship with that person. or especially a monogamous relationship. So it's all about, being honest with yourself. So when you are honest with yourself and then you do the internal work in the process, then everything will go hand in hand and you'll start having quality relationship with the people that you're dealing with. But if you are in, let's say for instance, if you're in a monogamous relationship and then you drag yourself to the mud and drag your other partner to the mud, and then you turn around and break that agreement and start, messing with somebody else behind somebody else's back, then that could be harmful, extremely harmful and destructive. Because it's like, why didn't you tell me this from the beginning? Why can't you just, come to me forward as a person and say, hey, monogamy may not work for us. Let's try this. I think that's where the destruction could come in. But yeah, it's all about, being honest with ourselves and and making sure that we have our mental health in order so we can, heal and build our community instead of us destroying our community. And I'm complete.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All and I agree with Queen Laura that all types of touching, um, even platonic, is about intimacy. This is my friend. I'm holding her hand, right? In some cultures, like we can walk side by side in this culture and talk. In some cultures, they have to be looking at you or holding your hand to feel that they have your attention. So it's cultural. And people who are have multiple partners, that's pretty much recreation. But when you're in the moment with that person, it's intimacy, right? And the reason that person chooses multiple partners might be therapy, right? Procreation may not be a part of it. Or the person is doing it for procreation, but it's irresponsible. And so, what does that say about the person's self-esteem and even esteem of the other person? Like you have 20 kids with 15 mothers, or sometimes it's 20 mothers, because you don't want the intimacy to last, right? But what are you saying to those children? What are you saying to the mothers of those children? How do the mothers see themselves? Especially if they know you have these other children. Who's thinking about the children at that point, right? So it's the most complicated relationship with yourself in the world right now, and then with others, right? Queen Laura, did you want to speak? Or
Yes,
in
Grand Rising, Professor, thank you for this conversation. Thanks for the shares. What came to mind is the therapeutic value of sex. And for consensual sex, there is some therapeutic value in it, in the orgasm. You're releasing some stress, but anyway, I don't know if you've heard of this or if you know of this, that during the full moon, um, so, some people's libido is heightened. And in the mental institutions, I remember growing up as a child, people with mental challenges, they would um just have sex, right? But in the institution I used to work, a doctor used to work where I was, and he also used to work in the mental section of a major hospital here in Brooklyn. And he would come and share with us that sometimes at nights he would walk and he would see clients having sex in the hallway or wherever in the open. And this came about because I was telling him about with the full moon and the impact it has on on especially, I don't know if it's for everybody, but I know for mentally challenged people. And then he shared that with me. So I'm an advocate for sex as therapy in mental health institutions. So I would always say to him, you know, Why don't they have a space for them? Because you can't stop their feelings, you know? Show them some respect. You can't just walking, seeing them having sex, laughing at them, without doing something. It used to really irritate me. And, I would always advocate for sex as therapy in this institution because it's going to happen anyway, Protect the woman from getting pregnant, of course, but find them a safe space where they can have sex, and satisfy their urges for therapy's sake. With that, I'm complete. Thank you.
Okay, the fact that they are somewhat mentally impaired might be where the government says we can't allow that to happen. Nature says it's happening. Nature's making it happen. But then, especially in the case of maybe people of childbearing years, like you said, the protection is necessary. But then the protection might seem like consent. You know how the argument about condom in schools and all of that. But if it's elderly people, which it can be too, then you're into the legal side where, you know, do we have the children, for example, the adult children, or how do they feel about that? What did the culture already say about that? Be it religion or whatever. So even though they have these urges, um, I don't know if you're familiar with what they do, what they put in the food for people in institutions to
Yes,
kind of stifle that,
yes,
right? And then when they want us to procreate, they let us use that in everyday food. It's a spice on the rack. But when they don't want us to procreate, they tell you it's not good for you, so don't use it anymore. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
No, but I want to know.
Okay, so for example, in prison,
Yes.
right? They
Heard
put
of
a
it, I can't
certain
remember the name of
chemical
it.
in your food,
I heard of
right?
it, remember the name of it. It's something.
Well, the everyday name in some cultures is saltpeter.
Yes, Peter, yep. Peter, Peter Falk, something like that. Saltpeter,
Yeah,
that's right.
saltpeter. Yeah. And they put it maybe even in boarding schools and people don't know, or in middle schools, I don't know. But that's actually related to MSG, if I'm not mistaken, or based on what I heard from elders, right? And so now, because we want the population to be more controlled, MSG is not good for you, right? Um, but yeah, there are certain management practices of our bodies that we're not even aware of, so that government can control certain not just behaviors, but the economy, right? It's an economic decision sometimes whether you should have sex or not. And now in senior living, where people are consensual, it's happening a lot. In a lot, not even assisted living, but senior living, they said that because they can no longer be pregnant, they feel freer to partner up, right? The thing now that's a concern in senior centers is STDs because there's still promiscuity in there, right? And so STDs are a big thing among senior citizens. And it's also an issue where um, Americans go abroad just to have sex, and then the diseases are spread that way, right? And unfortunately, um, it might be therapy for them if they're pedophiles, but it's also where children are sold just so that their parents can eat, if there's poverty, heavy poverty in that area. And then you also have The predatory nature is actually an attempt to self-therapy, right? So we really have to look at things a little more differently, deeply, and these words are to be borne in mind when things happen that are out of the norm, right? Um, we have more single women that are seniors than we have ever had before. Some are because of widowhood, some because they've never married. And so they may go abroad just to hang out, hook up. And people take advantage of that on some tourist areas. And then some women, they'll go on vacation, they'll meet this guy, and they'll rent him for a while. And because she was satisfied with what she got, when she goes back home, she takes care of that. She sends that person money so that next time she gets there, he's available. This is happening, people. Okay? Um, and there are actually series now, talk shows and like what do we call them? Reality shows that deal with people who even want to marry the person. And there's an immigration issue around that too. So it's about sex. You can't have children without it yet, right? Um, at least the sperm has to meet the egg, right? And so uh healthy, wealthy, do you want to say something that you put in the chat? You want to say it loud?
No,
Pink.
not now that you encourage me to do it. But anyway, so I know I was thinking about how. Well, I'm gonna say I'm gonna put it out there like this: the amount that I know as far as when uh Africans were used to reproduce, right? That's my understanding that there was a time it's like, okay, this is a strong man. But allow him to lay with someone so that we can have some children, then we can have some more slaves, and we have some more workforce. Yes? Yes?
That's the way it's put makes it sort of mythical, but that's everybody, every culture, because
Well,
children are your retirement plan in every culture, or used to be.
okay, so retirement plan. Okay, I'll have to think on that. However, just in my mind, what I know about as far as men, because I'm widow and I'm single and I'm sexual. So, but however, I'm attempting to get an understanding about when you talk about why we engage in the act. So then it took me back to when men weren't necessarily free to lay with who they loved, because maybe who they loved was sold off. So that disconnect, I'm thinking, because I'm a free thinker, my thinking is that that disconnect impact, generations and generations, because I run into men who appear to be real clueless about what's happening here, as far as what they need to do with their penis. Just swinging it around as if it's not, as if it is not making a connection with somebody. So yeah, that's what's coming up for me over here. Yeah. With that,
Okay,
I'm complete.
all right. So the plantation master, I'll say, forced people to procreate, right? That was procreation for building the labor force, yes. But in other cultures, it's like I said, those words, everybody procreates so that they can be fruitful, right? There's multiplication and then there's fruitfulness. Be fruitful and multiply. Fruitful means productive, right? Multiply is procreation or duplication of something that is productive, right? And so in every culture, children were a gift right? Not just for entertainment when they're little, but they were the workforce eventually. And so that the older people could stop working and the younger people could take over, but also take care of the older people. So the fruitfulness and the multiplication was there. And then the multiplication was actually because of the lifespan. Some will die and some will work, right? So you had multiple children so that the survivors would take care of the elders, right? And so at that point, sex ultimately and step one, procreation, right? And so how you did it determined whether you were doing it for recreation, intimacy, therapy, or using it to ruin your esteem when the slave master decided he was going to take the guy you really liked away or the woman you loved away and sell you off. That was gaslighting. That was mental slavery, right? That was abuse, human rights abuse, right? They knew you liked this person. They learned that when you jumped the broom, it meant something. And especially if he wanted you for himself, he would sell that dude away, right? You know the names they called him, wasn't dude, right? And so the esteem that comes from that where you have no choice. You have to do as you're told. And then you carry this child for a certain period of time, and you may even be the one that they allow to breastfeed that child. And then that child, when it gets to us, you're expected to teach the child to replace you. The same labor. The child goes with you to the field, right? The child comes into the house at a certain age and sets the table, right? And then after a while, the child is taken away. And it's usually for punishment, right? And don't think that every woman that was abused that way or treated that way was some beautiful Amazon woman. It was any female, right? And so sometimes they would pick the strongest, of course, because they wanted the strongest children, right? And so now the US has super people and the Caribbean has super people, right? And because it was genetic planning, genetic engineering at that point. You know, we can use the politically correct words or we can use words that really mean something that we can think about later, right? It can be a positive or a negative. Words are actually neutral. But why are we having this type of sex? What reason? Some people watch other people, right? But in the long run, any time you come in contact with someone, it's a relationship, no matter how temporary. Could be on a trip, but it's intimacy, okay? And whatever each person's getting out of it is therapy. And procreation may be far from the what they want, so they protect themselves. But it damages the esteem of a prostitute. She might think that's the only way she can make money for her family, but she knows the stigma that goes with that occupation, especially if your education level does not allow you to move through financial spaces the way that human beings should be able to do, right? And it makes that guy who walks away from all those children think he's the big kahuna, right? So all these are reasons people have it, or maybe they're not conscious that that's why they're doing it, but that's what they're getting out of it. Okay. And of course, the ideal situation is to have them all with a partner that you relate to on a daily basis. All right. Uh, Next is any hand up? Because we're moving to the next slide. We have 2 minutes, 1 minute, no minute.
Teresa has her hand raised. I'll go through the chat and then we can have Teresa
Bear with
say
us
what
a
she
little
wants.
longer. We're at the
Dora
end of
says,
the road.
awesome, Adam. And Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise says, too many questions, Marilyn. Cassandra says, when I worked in assisted living, the adult children would be upset because we didn't have the right to stop their consenting adult parents. The Villages, Florida is a breeding ground for STDs. They didn't have the sex education like younger generations. Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise says, paying for what you want makes sense to me. Cassandra says, my 65-year aunt is marrying a 26-year-old from Africa. And Healthy, Wealthy, and Wise says, recreational therapy. And the chat is complete.
Awesome. Next
Teresa, what
slide,
would you like
please.
to? Teresa's hand is raised. Would you like to add something, Teresa?
Yes.
No, I'll let it go on because you got it. It's 8:31, so I could speak another time. You're always coming on. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe the next slide will help. Is there another slide? Political disruptors and derailers. How did that get into the mix after we had such a basic conversation? Okay, that means of relationships, things that cause relationships to go sideways, right? Miscommunication. That's on the disruptors list, right? Disrespect, mistrust, dishonesty, intimidation or bullying, isolation, leaving you out, right? Think go in the corner, right? This is multi-level for different ages. These are things that cause relationships to go sour, right? And then this happens in between two people, or it can happen institutionally. So we move over and see what miscommunication happens over in the derailer side. It means you're doing it on purpose. So you're either doing it as a so-called friend, as the government, as a parent, as an enemy. These are enemies over here on the derailer side because it's deliberate, right? The disruptor side, it could be just ignorance, but on the derailer side, it is intentional. So we have misinformation in books about how life should work or how people are. A lot of stereotypes in our academic social studies kind of books, right? We only see tribes in the sense of being outdoors. When we think of the word tribes, it's people outdoors in unpleasant conditions or something, right? Or in nature, surviving in nature. Um, so we never think of Africa as a place where you can actually have luxury, right? It's poverty, it's disease, it's hunger, and it's far from it, right? For the most part. We have poverty, disease, and hunger here, but we associate things with somewhere else because we have an us versus them situation, right? And so misinformation becomes systematic. The books lie, even the science books lie. Even who wrote the book might not be aware because they're just passing on research. So it gets perpetuated, right? And ridicule in a relationship, that's deliberate. You make fun of what I say or what I'm doing or how I look. That's a derailer for us to have a healthy relationship, right? Betrayal. I told you something in confidence and you went and told it. Or I introduced you to someone I care about and want to maybe spend time or the rest of my life with, and you took that person, oh, you were more aggressive and you took that person either behind my back or to my face, right? Control derails relationships. We have free thinking. If it's really free, then you should respect my thoughts and I respect your thoughts. We should make decisions together about how things should work. Control is not good for a relationship when it's one-sided. We both control our relationship. We know what we expect. If you can deliver, deliver it. If you can't, let me know. Right? And then, of course, abuse is never a good thing. The laws can be abusive. especially of women, right? We think we're in a society where we should be in control of ourselves and free, but are we not being abused when we're restricted from doing certain things? We can't even say certain words anymore, right? That's abuse. And then discrimination, who gets privilege and who does not, right? And these words are closely related, but with the disruptors, it could be accidental or it could be just the way you were trained to be. It's a group thing, um, but it's things that happen and we don't let it go. On the derailer side, this is the system, right? My parents told me the wrong thing, knowing it wasn't true. I mean, is Santa Claus really real? And why does Santa Claus have to be white if it's just a person bringing a gift? Where did Santa Claus come from? And what was his original role in that culture, right? Where did the gifts come from? That's a real person or a real iconic person in Dutch culture. Do you know who Sinterklaas was? Okay, this bag was of this Dutch person who went to Africa and controlled people in the mines and brought back goodies for his own children, but might have left people in the mines with a hand cut off if they didn't produce well enough, or if they tried to leave, they cut a foot off, or there are a lot of mulatto children in the Congo, so that's misinformation. Even if it's just a Halloween legend, you're telling people this thing can happen and it's not real. And you're telling that to children. You're derailing my intellect when you tell me things like that. When you make fun of me because you said formal attire, so I wear my traditional clothes, but then you look at me sideways because I'm not in a tuxedo or I'm not in a ball gown, right? Children in school, that bullying is not a good thing for your esteem. And a lot of suicide is from bullying, right? And betrayal. Again, betrayal of confidence, betrayal of trust. Mistrust is, I hear it, but I don't believe it. But betrayal is an activity, right? And control. Control can be good if you're just setting boundaries that everybody can live with, right? And we have the discipline of ourselves, self-control. It's great. But when it's taking away rights and privileges, it's a problem. Okay. So looking at this list, any hands up or anything you want to say about this one that you can screenshot? What's happening with our disruptors and derailers? And politics is about managing the people, right? Government is the resources. So you have family politics, you have community politics. So that's why I called it political disruptors and derailers. Okay. Do you see these happening? Do we abuse some of them? What's going on with these lists? Too many questions, right?
Peace and
Latifa
bless.
has her hand raised.
Okay, let's hear you.
Peace and blessings, sister, and to all my sisters and brothers. And then when we look at the misinformation, when are we informed? And when we are informed, is that additional information affects the community? We go on and thinking this is truth, and we pass it on down to our children. So they're dressing in these costumes. They're waiting for that Santa Claus to come. And then their children do the same thing. So it is vital that we learn the truth. So it's always up to us. We don't feel, and I'm talking using we, universal in our community, in our culture. So we don't realize that this stuff that is thrown at us, this stuff that we have to get rid of, is not correct.
And so it always goes back to the person in the mirror. How do we learn? So it's up to us to learn and and many times when the person that is teaching us the truth, we look at them and say, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Oh, they're just bringing this on us. Instead of looking, thank you, my sister, for allowing me to share.
You for that share. We have to learn. We have learned. We need to unlearn, and then we need to relearn, right? And the unlearning and the relearning are our responsibility. What we have learned was put upon us, but we have to question these things. That's what makes us critical thinkers. We don't just say it is what it is and accept it. We have to then do our own research, talk to some real people, and understand that every society has every negativity as well as positive parts, right? Anyone else want to make a comment as we close out?
Sandra says the lies around health around JFK.
Okay, could you explain that, Cassandra, if you can? The
Grand
lies
Rising,
around.
yes, I was
Okay,
saying about I'm not. I said JFK. I meant Robert Kennedy, the health secretary of Department of Health right now, who is absolutely clueless about health issues and just telling so many lies and the things about the immunizations and different things like that. He's just really clueless and just should not even be in that position. But there's been a lot of lies generated under him. Thank you.
thank you. And then, why do we think it's a lie? Have we done our own research? Or do we say the same things, but not in, we don't have the public platform, but we do say it in public spaces, right? Um, and then why is he saying these things? What's the agenda behind these things? So you can look at it in many ways until we arrive at the truth. We first say, if it's true, then this and this and this. If it's not true, then this and this and this. And I must go and find as much of the truth as possible, right? He started out a smart advocate, but supposedly he has some kind of parasite on his brain, and then they took advantage of that. And his family has actually disclaimed everything that he's saying. And normally the Kennedys stick together, right? So that's a lot of food for thought. He's a study in itself of how reality versus propaganda, right? And how that can harm us because we need to have a certain truth, a very correct information for our benefit and the children's benefit and future generations' benefit. But we must also understand that all diseases do not come from outside, right? And so, what should we trust and what should we not trust in terms of efforts to eradicate such diseases, right? Why is polio coming back, right? Why do we still have thyroid issues when, what's the diet that can actually get rid of that instead of taking medication, so to speak? Because medication can be bad food, not good food. Medicine should be, there's a difference between medicine and medication. I mean, it's not semantics. Semantics are important, right? Just like disruptor versus derailer, miscommunication versus misinformation. There's a difference, and we need to be clear on what those differences are for our own survival, to pass on the right information, and to prevent unhealth, to maintain wellness, right? So that's where we are in the world today. There's a lot of confusion. And in the past, maybe 5, 10 years, they've introduced the term uncertainty. Why are we in the age of uncertainty? We should be evolving to have full knowledge about things. Full knowledge existed from the beginning. So, what is this age of uncertainty? It's the age of confusion and misinformation. And because we have restrictions on our expression, there's miscommunication, and it's not our fault. Sometimes we don't know, but it is our problem to solve, right? So, this little light of mine, little light is for children. We need the big light. We're the big light that we need to shine, the light of truth, right? Is that too much? Too heavy? All at once? Have we learned something? Have we learned a few things? What can we do about what we've learned? How do we learn, unlearn, relearn, challenge what we learn to make sure it is true or useful, right? If it's true and good, we should put it to use. If it's untrue and it's been damaging, we need to get rid of it. Okay. So, feedback, thoughts?
Laura says it's part of the design.
Okay.
We
Is it
follow
a
habit.
divine?
We're in the
Pardon?
habit. We're in the habit of doing things, and we don't look at it as a habit. This is what we do. And why is it that we don't change those habits? So I'm right along with you, Sister Marilyn. Why is it that we don't look at that?
And sometimes when we ask thoughtful questions, people respond with cliches because that's what they know. And that's where the misinformation's coming in too. Like we can be having this type of conversation, and thankfully in this space it doesn't happen a lot, but there's just a cliche answer. And we need to start thinking more and finding more words to say what we mean by that cliche. And maybe once we start thinking, that cliche doesn't work anymore. We're talking in memes sometimes. And that's miscommunication. That's suppressing the truth and just going with what a lot of positive memes, especially that tell you to be independent, it's isolating you, right? So independence isn't always a good thing. Freedom to be yourself. Do you know who you are so that you can be free to be yourself? So you can get to the top of that Maslow's pyramid or hierarchy, right? Or are you being someone else? Are you in uniform, right? Just like America, students have freedom of expression, yet when you go to college, everybody's in jeans and a t-shirt, right? So that's culture, and culture has different levels, right? But suppose you wanted to wear something else today. Are people going to look at you funny and suddenly curious as to why you're wearing it? Or do they just let you wear what you want to wear, right? Why did students start wearing pajamas to school, right? Why did the parents conform so quickly? Right now, we have military occupation of our cities. We already have police, we have sheriffs, we have constables. Why do we still need the National Guard? And why are they wearing masks? Are they really government officials or are they bounty hunters? You know, what's going on with the immigration raids? Now that food is rotting on the vine because the people who used to pick those are gone. Right? Cassandra says pajama days for school spirit. Some people wear it all the time. Like when I taught summer school, that's when the tradition started of wearing
Yes.
um, you know, t pajamas to school. And some of those pajamas had holes in them in the wrong places. So if you're gonna be a fashionista, you have to be okay with the money to spend and get the right stuff. You know, you can't just come with your old school stuff and then it's got holes in it, right? So there's a lot more questions than answers.
Professor, may I
Laura
say
has her
something
hand
real
raised.
quick? Yeah. No, what came to my mind is the subliminal messages in the young men wearing their pants below their butt. What is behind all of that? And well, I'm a bit radical sometimes, so I see depopulation and all of that. I'm complete.
Right. And a lot of people will defend it. That's your right to freedom of expression. But then where's your culture? Is this okay then as the new culture? And it's global, actually. They even may have a belt on under the butt. But where did that come from? Why did that become a fad? It's a prison mentality. And I am old enough to remember a picture on the cover of Emerge magazine where a young man was being arrested and they took the lace out of his shoes, they took his belt, and his pants was sagging. But that was meant to be humiliation. And so we take on things as if it's defiance or rebellion. The N word, for example, we've been called that. And so we take it on and use it intimately, but we get upset when someone else says it. That's double-mindedness, right? And that's dysfunction. And the sagging is a very interesting thing because when the rappers started sagging, they actually had their boxers sewn to their pants. So it wasn't something that was going to fall off, right? But with us, um, we're doing it and just following a fad, not knowing where it came from, but it's meant to be humiliating. And then if the majority of the people in your culture worldwide don't do that, how are you connecting in the global village? And then if they have adopted it, aren't they disconnecting from their parents who are uncomfortable with it? So it's an age of disruption. And what do we keep as real positive values? And what do we need to discard as something that does not work for us? Because we are stereotyping ourselves at that point in a negative way. Right. Can you read the chat, please, before we go?
Cassandra says the ICE agents are the pardoned insurrectionists.
Oh,
Laura says
insurrectionist? Insurrectionist, yeah.
Laura
Okay.
says we are herders. Cassandra says I don't like the saggy pants, but I'm against the criminalization of it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, criminalization of fashion. Come on, you know. Why aren't parents correcting their children? What's the role of the first slide that we had, where all these institutions are supposed to work together? So actually, the pants that you buy so that they do sag and still fit cost more money than the regular pants that you can pull up. So parents are spending money they don't have to appease children that they should be disciplining, um, correcting, to impress friends who don't really like them, right? When you are you saving for college? Is it a fad yet for us to save for college? Is it a fad yet for us to save money to go to technical school? Is it a fad yet for us to learn how computers work so that we can protect our own bank accounts, etc.? When are the good fads or the necessary fads going to be followed versus the negative fads, right? Where's the sanity in the word unalive, for example? That person was unalive because you can't say killed anymore without, attempts at censorship. How do we look at the damage that is being caused in the world by violence that's needless if we can't use the words that explain and clarify what is happening, right? How many of the words on this list will we not be able to use anymore soon because it hurts somebody's feelings. It goes against what the system is doing to you. And so they think of it as unpatriotic, right? So why do we allow things that we don't like if other people don't like them either? If it's just you, then okay, deal with it. But if a lot of people say they don't like it, why are we spoiling our children that way? And it is spoiling, right? We're indulging in the wrong things. Have we bought them books instead? Is there an alternative when we take something away? Do we give them something else? Right? And so who's leading this fashion trend and making a lot of money out of it so that people can drive down the street and be scared of that person that looks like you or doesn't want to get in the elevator with someone that looks like you or clutches their purse a little bit more because that person's sagging when that could be an IT genius sagging, right? Okay. Because now you can go to work just any way you want, pretty much, certain jobs where people don't see you. So that person walking down the street with locks and sagging pants could be making $120,000 a year and drinking pumpkin spice latte in October. But how does the world see that person? Right? And so
Veronica says,
information has always been weaponized, right? That's why the books are lying, right? Okay.
Teresa has her
Is
hand raised.
Go ahead, Teresa.
I don't think parents are always buying clothes for their kids to pull their pants down. 'Cause I know people who have kids who don't like it. So just that's the choice. That's the way the kids. Way depends. You get on the kids' pants, but once they go to school, they do what they want to do. So I just think too is that if they are doing stuff that you need to just talk with them about, what the pants mean. And you said they pin their pants. I never knew they glued or whatever. I never knew that one. But I got a lot of nieces and nephews that do wear certain things, and it's not that they parents. Both sides just that they might be fighting over no kids. But I tell my nephew, like, excuse me, and if I'm out in the street, when I do get back to, I like, excuse me, and man, I don't want to see your drawers. So I have to, I step to them. Maybe to talk to them like that, but I just think too is that if because they know when they see me, pull the pants up, Miss Reese gonna tell you pull your pants. So I think it's how you govern yourself to help them. They need help because they're going through so much stuff and they don't have people helping them and assisting them. Say, hey, that could cause this, that could cause that, but you gotta teach them. Everybody who got kids, they ain't just saying, I'm gonna borrow this pants from them to have their pants. No, I
Queen
got
Laura,
kids.
your mic is open.
Yeah, so, and I'm
Okay.
complete.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm talking.
All right. Okay. Any hands up? Then we'll move to the next slide. And so we see the wellness wheel again. Anything on the pyramid that's not working is going to impact this wellness wheel because they go together, right? So we need to use these as checklists, right? How's your health? It's based on the bottom of the pyramid. Are your physiological needs being met in a healthy way? Because yes, you are eating food, but it might be chips. You are eating fresh meat, but it could be GMO meat, right? You like the convenience. We like the convenience because you sounds like we're accusing someone. People like the convenience of seedless grapes, but seedless grapes produce seedless people. So are we able to procreate after eating too many seedless watermelons, seedless grapes, seedless this, seedless that? And if all the apples look alike, because we like that uniformity. Is that a GMO? And what's that doing? It's genetically modifying us because, as Queen Laura always says, food is medicine, medicine is food. That's a whole book out there, right? Many books out there let you know that. Um, so, yes, we are eating, but what are we eating, right? Yes, we have police, but are they defending, protecting, and serving us in this neighborhood, right? Um, we're going to school, we're learning things, we're reading books, or we're on Kindles, but are we getting the right information so that we can move through society in a healthy, peaceful way, right? How are we raised so that we don't have these emotional triggers all the time or in certain areas, right? And now that we're adults, how do we fix ourselves? Because what's done is done. It wasn't our fault, but it is our challenge to overcome, right? And all these things might show up in the way we have relationships, the way we manage our money, the way we see the world, the way we perform at work, the way we treat the environment, right? Big city people may go out for a ride in the country and just throw a bottle out the window because we're used to custodians picking stuff up, right? So, can we get along in multiple spaces that are very different from each other? Why? How have we made sure that this is a good thing, positive relationship? Or if we can't, what's happening? What happened to us to have it so that we don't get along with a whole group of people, or we don't appreciate a different behavior that's not negative, but we still don't like it, right? That's cultural differences, maybe, right? And then if we say we're Christian, have we read the Bible for ourselves, right? Have we read the Quran for ourselves? Have we read the Bhagavad Gita for ourselves? Have we gone along with Confucius sayings that are proverbs? Do we compare so that we know that there are these basic rules that have managed to govern the law before the law became complicated and uncertain? Don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat, respect your parents, right? Every culture says that. But what do we do to reinforce that and to encourage it as opposed to making it a bully situation so that children will cooperate? How are our relationships? Right? So with that, if there are no hands raised or new comments in the chat, I am complete. And I thank you all for listening and for sharing. And I hope you got something out of it.
Thank
Latifa
you.
has her hand raised.
Okay. Go ahead, Queen.
Thank you, Sister Marilyn. And when we read the Bible, the Quran, are we practicing what we read? But we say we're Christian, we're Muslim, we're Jehovah's Witness. And everything that you say and do is contrary to your book. It's contrary to what God has taught us. And that's what it is. We've got to do and stop talking. We've got to share and stop just holding on to ourselves. We sing those songs and we feel real good, but we're not doing the things that we know we should. Why is that? We got to stop that. Thank you, my sister, for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Anyone else before we close? We have one more slide. And I know you were so progressive values, shared values that can make it anywhere in the world, in the abundant village. Be open, communicate honestly, clearly, with diplomacy, though. Show some respect. Learn to compromise when we have extremes, right? Where do we fit? If we both like burgers, but one of you likes Burger King and one of you likes McDonald's, why don't we go to Wendy's, right? Bad example, but it works. Support each other, right? In well-doing. And then, of course, self-determination means making choices that work for us in the village. It's not just doing our own thing and being way out there. It's about being the best that we can be where we are, right? And these values take us around the world, right? Especially respect. So the progressive values, openness in the family, respect for the law, compromise in the things that won't kill us, right? Support each other financially, emotionally, um, socially. And then self-determination as an individual self or as the group, because we do want that culture to be transparent, right? Self-determination as a country. Each country has a right to rule itself. And so why do we need wars in a diplomatic era, right? This is the age of the spirit. We've had the Father, we've had the Son. This is the spirit, and women need to speak up because we are the spirit of the home and we need to be the spirit of the village. We have been in rural areas. Don't go silent in the city, right? And so these are values that can work everywhere if we're conscious of ourselves and respect others. And so next slide, please, if no hands are up or the chat is free. Marcus Garvey, Honorable Marcus Garvey, with the largest organized organization around the world where people actually paid dues, 6 million people. He was an inspiration for both Malcolm X and Martin Luther King's parents. And people follow one God, one aim, one destiny. We can say one spirit, but if you believe God is love, then it is one love, right? The God in us is a loving God and seeks to have peace. And so it is our purpose to work together, to have good relationships of every kind, right? So that the world can heal and be a better place, and that we as African Americans and people of all colors can live in harmony because we're on one planet and one environment and we have one destiny. We're all going to pass, but we don't need to be sick before we pass. So may the words of our Godfather of peace, we'll say, may that reign in all of us. And Nia is our purpose to be of value to people and each other and to ourselves first. Next slide, please, if there are no hands up. And what's in the chat? What's going on in the chat? Okay. Yes, information is being weaponized. It always has been. Okay. That's why we have misinformation in the books. Long live the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. and all the people who speak truth to us, Malcolm X included. And so we close with this song that you may have heard a female sing it, but I chose the male to sing it to put a male voice in the space alongside Adam, right? Play the video, please.
What
Hope it's
you
ready.
want, honey, you got it. And what you need, baby, you got it. All I'm asking for a little respect when I come home. Hey, now, hey, hey, hey. Yeah, now, do me wrong, honey, if you want it. You can do me wrong, honey, while I'm gone. But all I'm asking for a little respect when I come home. Ooh, yeah, now, hey, hey, hey. Yeah, now, you know. Hey, little girl, you're so sweet, little honey, and I'm about to just give you all of my money. But all I'm asking, hey, little respect when I come home. Hey, 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 hey. Yeah, now. Hey, little girl, you're sweet as a honey, and I'm about to give you all of my money. But all I want you to do,
Morning.
just give it respect when I come home. Hey, 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 respect. That's what I want. Respect is what I need. Respect is what I want. Respect is what I need. Got to have it. Got to have it. Got to have it. Got to have it. Give it, 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 give it from me, baby. Everything I need. Give it from me, baby. Everything I want. Give it.
Thank you all for staying. Much respect.
Sharon says,
Special
thank you so
offer.
much for this knowledge and conversation. Pastor Marilyn, you're an amazing teacher. Family, have an amazing day. Love you all. Latifa says, respect. Laura says, thanks, Professor Marilyn. Respect you.
And as usual, my free special offer, complimentary, maybe it's the word free that's keeping you away, complimentary financial wellness checkup. It's a checkup now. Where are you and where do you need to be? So all I need is your phone number and email, which you can send to me by text or if you text me, the phone number is already there. If you send me the email by email, I need your phone number. But this is some very good basic information that can really make you have peace of mind. Or at least next steps. You will know the next steps to improve your situation. Okay. This is my contact information where you can text me 832-495-7986 with your email so that you get the link to the Zoom. And Instagram is primarily entertainment and politics, Caribbean Impact. And then, of course, the pvchambertx@gmail is where you can email me your phone number so that I can send you the link. But in either case, I need your phone number and email for the Zoom link. Okay. And if the checkup goes well, we can then proceed to take the free workshops.
So this is for love offerings and donations. You can either use Zelle or QuickPay. Spirit of Women Leadership Development at gmail.com. You can use Cash App, $ Spirit of a Woman. The code for specifically this particular session would be hashtag 1476MDJ. You can definitely offer your love and donations through Zelle and Cash App via these platforms that I have just shared, and you can see on the screen as well. You can also enroll and register in monthly automated love offerings and donations. It could be anywhere from $25 to $100 a month, whatever is you are comfortable with. Could be $25 a month, $50 a month, 75 or $100 a month. However you would like to register in the monthly automated love offerings and donations for the Wake Up Everybody platform to keep working and keep going. This information for our upcoming sessions for Monday and Tuesday, October 13th and 14th, respectively. The Monday session would be facilitated by Natasha Amor. The topic would be honoring the womb, understanding its power, health, and wisdom. And this Tuesday one is facilitated by Martin Lisa Melivers, Disapura Wars, Black or African American Part 1. So you are welcome to join these upcoming sessions and look forward to. There is this information about Motherwith 2025. This is the future of birthing is now a gathering for community dialogue and collective action. This is an event happening in SUNY Downstate, 395 Lenox Road, Brooklyn, New York, in the Alumni Auditorium, Saturday, October 25th, 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live and virtual. So you can either attend live or you can attend this event virtually as well. And for this, you can register at bit.ly/motherword25 if you are interested in attending the session. And the Woo Nation welcomes all the new members and the existing members as well. We are so glad to have you here in our community. To those who are joining us for the first time, welcome aboard, and we are excited to get to know you and to learn from the fresh perspectives that you bring. For those who have been with us for a while, thank you for continuing to be such an important part of this space. Your contributions and presence help make this community strong and welcoming for all. And together, let's keep building a space where everyone feels valued, supported, and inspired. And as you all know, this is a community where we come to learn, elevate, and ascend each other. This slide shows the Wake Up Everybody schedule on Zoom live workshops, Sunday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., and Monday and Wednesdays, 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. There are Zoom live workshops. You can stream live on Facebook as well. And if you want to get any Woo Nation Woo alerts, you can text Woo Nation to 74121 and you will be able to get the notifications and alerts for whatever is going on or whatever is coming up. And thank you so very much for your presence, for your for joining the Woo community, for being here on this platform. You can register bit.ly/wake up movement. You can join our private or public Facebook pages, bit.ly/woo community. That's the private handle. The public handle is bit.ly/woo nation. The Instagram handle is at wake up everybody virtual. You can also join YouTube, Woo on YouTube, and for any questions or queries regarding Wake Up Everybody series, you can email at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com, and any of the questions or queries would be answered there. And now I would like all of you to please give your love shower to Professor Marilyn DJ for such an amazing and thoughtful session. Thank you so very much, Professor Marilyn. It was a pleasure to be facilitated by you in this session. You can
Thank
all
you,
unmute
everybody.
yourself.
Thank you, Reverend. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sister
Thank you so
Marilyn.
much, Sister
We
Samantha. Thank
appreciate
you as
you.
always,
Thank
Sister
you very
Mary.
The
much.
Lord continue to bless
Thank
you.
Thank you for the
Pastor
time that
Marilyn.
you took to pour into us this morning. We thank you.
Thank you for your teaching.
Thank you.